I've seen a few episodes. I think I watched like the first season, but I know that like that's a series that you get more into the more you get into it. So I really do need to watch the rest whenever I
Gotcha,
can.
gotcha.
But yeah, I kind of get the uh I get a few of the memes and stuff like stuff like that
Okay.
that originated there, and I kind of get what it's about.
Yeah, I haven't
It's
seen
pretty
it yet,
cool.
but I got to give it credit for having a Damo Suzuki reference, in
Yeah,
a
I
show
guess
like
a
that.
whole
That's
lot of the characters and like poses and stuff are very like classic
music
rock and glam
in
rock
joke.
based.
Okay.
Yeah, their 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 outro theme song is I think it's Roundabout by Yes.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, they're legit when it comes to their interest in good music. So it's another plus to when you do get around to watching it. You're like, oh, okay,
I
there you go.
I might have to, yeah, mix it up a little bit and give that one
Yeah,
a shot. That sounds
I
fun.
guess a lot of the character looks and poses are like copied off of like um either fashion model stuff or like David Bowie like dance moves and things like that. So
The fashion model, basically. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, he's kind of the crossover there. So
Yeah, right. Well, I think before we jump into what we think of the album here, um, I think hearing about Soup and its improvised nature, I'm gonna say right now, I'm inspired to bring back Meet Me in the Bathroom, and this week let's do a Soup.
yeah,
Um,
there you go.
I don't know what I'll do. I'm gonna improvise it in true can spirit, but I think
Just
I,
let it flow as you're typing.
exactly. I think Meet Me's back on the menu, boys. So
There we go.
it'll be on our Substack, and
Yeah,
we'll
I was gonna
post a
say
link to that in the
watch
episode.
the Substack.
Yeah. So thoughts on the album? I mean, I love this one.
I do too.
Love loving the band. It's inspired me to listen to more of their albums throughout the week. Um, Future Day is a good one. Like I talked about earlier, that any of the live stuff is just incredible. Um, really in their element of just jamming and teasing out all these ideas they have. But they still mix in a few of the familiar numbers. Um, yeah, any favorite cuts on there? Any favorite moments sonically? I mean,
I mean,
where does this land for you?
we did just talk about vitamin C. I mean, I think it's pretty high. We just did our power rankings, so I think it's fair to not not jumble with them a lot just yet. But I would guess that it'd come in pretty it'd show up on the list. What did we limited ourselves to like uh top 5?
Top five, yeah.
It might, yeah, yeah, it very well could break into my top 5. It's really, really good.
It's Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, like, just to go on that road real quick, that and Purple Rain, it's like instantly there's two more to push in
Ye
to the
yeah,
top five. It's like, is
that's
there even
yeah, that's
room?
true. I
But like,
forgot that we'd have to include Purple Rain now. So
yeah, it's almost like a top six now because you can't get around the fact that Purple
yeah,
Rain's, like number
maybe
one.
next time maybe next time it'll
Yeah,
be a top. Well, I mean, we'll have more choices, so we'll be able to expand. But
that's true. That's true.
yeah, yeah, Vitamin C's a standout track. Um, I know, yes, Soup. Um, Soup's fun because you get a little. I mean, again, it's the name, but you kind of get a little bit of everything. Like when it does that drop into its groove, like it is one of the best. It is one of the best grooves on the album. And then
Definitely.
when you hang around, you also get to hear them. You also get to hear them getting like way out into space, right? Like,
Right.
yeah,
No,
I
yeah, it's such a contradictory album in some ways, and beautifully so. Like, they're very tight, focused, groove oriented, and at the same time, they're completely just improvising and letting it go off the rails wherever they want, um, and just making sounds to fill the air. One More Night, I think, is one of my favorite examples of like kind of the repetition minimalist style, that we think of sometimes with krautrock, and just good rhythm and melody. Yeah, Vitamin C. I think every time I hear that, I get the Damo screaming that "losing your love."
yeah.
It's stuck in my head for like a week at a time. So
Mhm.
that's for for a band that's experimental and proggy and all the other words you want to come up with it, to get something stuck in somebody's head is kind of not entirely a common idea. And then
Yeah,
yeah, I think
I also feel like Sing Swan Song would have if it was by itself,
mhm,
it probably would have hit me as one of my favorites. It's definitely one of the bigger left turns on the album, you
yeah,
know? Um, it's kinda dark, and it's a little, like, um yeah, I don't know. It's got almost like a
speak
threatening tone to it.
totally. Speaking of dark and threatening, is this the one that Kanye sampled?
Yeah, I was gonna so that's what I was building to,
Mm,
if it was Sing Swan Song by itself and I just ran into it on this album, it'd probably be one of my favorites from the album, but, of course, the experience of listening to it, especially the first time I threw this on, was hearing Sing Swan Song and the entire time being like, why does this sound familiar?" And it really did take me, like, like a listen and a half and a little bit of Googling, and I was like,
yeah,
"Oh, right, this is Kanye West's Drunken Hot Girls from Graduation." Which
exactly. Yeah,
which, yeah, I mean, it puts a connotation on things, 'cause especially, because I heard that first.
right.
Um, I mean, you can still think of I can still sit and concentrate and think about it as its own song and be like, "Yes, this is really good, and this is, a real left turn for the album and a real exploration," but, I mean, yeah, just in general, it's impossible to separate the 2 for me, so
Yeah, exactly. You can't undo, what's been done in that sense, and but like to your point, you can look at it as a standalone, but you're still always going to have that bias of, well, I
yeah.
heard this here
Did
first.
you
It's
ever
just a
sit
little,
did you ever sit down and listen to that?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay,
No,
yeah,
as
because
soon as
it's not
as soon
even
as I saw that, it was just kind of
yeah,
like,
what?
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
that's out of left field, but
Yeah,
okay,
because
why not?
it's not even like he's sampling it, like, it's more of an interpolation, like, he's taken, like, the melody and the song and, like, it's almost like he's doing a cover, but, obviously adding
Right.
his own his own lyrics.
His own thoughts.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. One more one more night, I think, like, when we were talking about, Noi 75 and kind of the sound, part of krautrock being that particular, if not that exact drum sound, but that drum feeling of
That motoric.
propulsiveness. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that it's like propulsiveness and kind of almost sounds like a train. Like
Mhm.
one more night is the one where I'm like, oh, okay, there's that tradition. There's they're not
Exactly.
getting
There's
away.
that.
They're
Yeah.
not yeah, they're not beating the krautrock allegations here. Like they still are
R-
very much
right.
in this
One
in this
connective thread to
tradition.
keep them
Yeah.
tethered. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love the fact that, Soup, the story behind it, when I heard it first couple times, I had no idea. But then just hearing it's kind of a space filler, let's just jam and see what happens and put it on
Mhm.
there. Like
It's pretty wild.
that's why you listen to the live shows. I mean, if you like that, you're gonna love the live releases they've done. Yeah, it's wild. It's all over the place. They do all the electronics and noise and really show off like, yeah, we're on the cutting edge here and we're doing it with pretty minimal tools, so to speak.
Yeah, and
And
they
that's
talk
part of
about
what.
they talk about being, very dedicated to improvising. Like they didn't want to like we might have mentioned, but like they said that they didn't want to show up with a like, like a set songs to play. Like they part of the way that they practice and rehearse is to kind of engender the ability to show up to a live show and just be like, well, we're just going to do this and see where it
Mhm.
goes and not have it be a big mess. It can
We
be
got
a
a
little
few
bit of
few
a mess.
checkpoints. Yeah, a few
Yeah.
checkpoints maybe, but open world in between. Let's
Hmm.
see what's out there. No,
Yeah.
and I think what's cool too is listening to it for when it was released. This thing was pretty out there sonically. A lot of the electronic stuff was very new. These ideas of all these crazy delays and tape manipulations. Like Kyle says on the episode, Dark Side was even still a year after this, and
Yeah.
those guys are up in the BBC jamming around on the best stuff money can buy,
Hmm. Hmm.
cutting edge, and here they are in inner space with mattresses, for walls and 2-track recorders in and out of other 2-track recorders for looping. It's kind of just a crazy night and day of kind of kind of what you can produce, with the right minds behind it. The gear only matters
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, and I think there was one. I don't know if it was contemporary or not, but there was a review that like kind of aggressively wanted to claim the album as a prog album, which I sort of understand where they're coming from, but the main takeaway I had from that was I feel like listening to something like this is or putting up this album is a way of it's a way of differentiating prog from something that is progressive, right? Like
Hmm.
I know prog is short, but when you say prog rock band, like certain things come up in certain,
Right.
techniques or sounds. But
7/4 and
then
polyrhythms and
yeah,
exactly.
but then there's a band like Can where they're literally trying to be progressive, where they're consciously thinking of rock music and they enjoy very conventional rock music of the time, but they're very much on purpose saying, well, but what could be next? Like
Right.
they're taking their training in that, from college and the kind of experimental ideas that are happening
Hmm.
in more kind of studious places like that, and saying, well, can we apply this to rock music? Like, can we do these loose forms? Can we
Hmm.
not, can we not organize a song as verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus?
Right.
So yeah, like that's there's I guess there's you know it's not like there's not crossover between prog prog bands or prog rock bands and stuff that I would think of as progressive, but I feel like this would be a good example of something where if I was trying to explain what I mean the differences between
Yeah.
prog and progressive, like I'd say, like, well, here, right, like this is missing a lot of the hallmarks of prog,
Right.
but it's very progressive.
Yeah. The interesting thing I think about, since you're on that point, is like Prague. I always think of these are guys that like went to school and studied composition and, have these long form structures. And literally, the guys in this band went to school and studied composition, electronic music, all these cutting edge things. But instead of, adhering to like, let's make a 15-minute, three-part epic about robots taking over Earth or something, they said, well, let's just kind of free jazz it and, use the tools we have. And in between, we'll come up with good melodies and fill it in. But we're not doing a whole composition. We're going to give some ground to experiment and to make cool stuff.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that we think of as prog rock can get hung up on um it can get hung up on performance more than sound. And then, talking about one of the other tracks from this album, like the track I'm So Green, like
Mhm.
that, we talk a lot about Can getting into a groove and almost having, funk to it. Like that's a track that is it gets it has a real texture to it.
Mhm.
It's almost like a summery, like springy kind of sound.
Definitely.
And
It's, yeah,
it's
very
and it
bright
doesn't
and
sound like
upbeat
it's the
and
hardest
bouncy.
thing to perform. It's just that, they've very tastefully chosen their sounds, and they've found, it's just interesting enough
Mhm.
in the playing and the composition that it needs to be. Whereas, maybe a prog rock band would say, like, yeah, maybe we need to throw this into a polyrhythm, and maybe you need to play this
Can we
with
can we get
more
can
notes
we
or
get
whatever.
a 32 bar solo on here? And yeah,
Yeah, stuff like that.
yeah.
But like there is a real groove going on in I'm So Green that yeah, I think I told you, but like it reminded me of the menu music from like the PlayStation, like Parappa the Rappa games, like either
Mhm.
his or the guitar version. Like there's something kind of poppy and happy to it that yeah,
No, I love that.
it's the other side of the coin from Sing Swan Song, I guess.
No, definitely. Um,
And then
I was saying too, like, on the album Future Days, I sent it over to you, the song Moonshake,
mhm.
I hear a lot of almost Pharrell happy, in
Yeah.
that song, and it's kind
They're
of
not
these
afraid to
guys.
be springy.
Right, right, they have the
Both
catchy
the
pop
motion
sensibilities.
and the season.
Mhm, right. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, cool. Where should we go now?
I think, we may there may only be one other track that we haven't talked about here, which was Spoon, and
Ah,
I only
yes.
really had I only really had one comment written down, which says, "It kinda makes sense that this one is the slightly commercial turn for them." It sounds the most kind of the time, like, it almost sounds like it could be like a Cream track or something like
Mhm,
that. Um,
definitely.
yeah, I mean, there's no explaining really what ends up on the top of German charts, but I can also kind of see like, okay, like, this, somebody commissioned them for this. They're not
Right,
they're constrained at least a little bit, not allowed to make the craziest thing they've ever made for a
right.
TV
It's a
show's
it's a good
theme
song,
song. Yeah.
has TV exposure, um, I think it's cool that they actually used a drum machine, on this with live drumming.
Right. Yeah.
So, like,
Like a very
the
early,
idea of fusing those 2 together early on like that,
yeah,
fun idea.
a very early drum machine.
Yeah, I think guys like Battles, draw a little bit from that, and it's kinda
Mhm.
cool to see the evolution of where that's gone from just a moment like this. This wasn't something everybody was doing or even thinking of.
Yeah, if we ever get them back, when that new album drops, maybe we can try and bother them again. But
Totally.
if we ever get them back, we should ask them, you know, "Did you ever get into krautrock,
Uh,
stuff like that?"
oh, I'll bet between the 2 of them, and it's kind of it just reminds me of the parallels with those 2 guys too. I mean, you have Ian and, like, Damo and, Michael Caroli and his, like, scratchy trip out sounds on guitar, and then, the drummer
Yeah.
here and John Stanier, like, locked in rhythm machine. What do you need? I can play it. Okay, it's my moment to
Yeah,
shine. I can do that
yeah, and
too.
again, I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but I feel like when a band is something when a band wants to be experimental, the one thing that they must have to be successful is, like, a truly excellent drummer, and, like, obviously, Liebzeit is one of those really excellent drummers, and,
Yeah.
clearly, he'd have to be John Stanier-ish with his stamina and, like, the way that they compose songs and the nature of the songs themselves being that long, like, you have to be able to play drums in time for a really long time, right? Like, so
Yeah, it's very easy to lose track of,
Mhm.
time, in terms of, like, pacing, when there's no discernible parts, going over the top of you. There's no bass,
Yeah.
locked in
Yeah,
a singular
like,
groove. There's no
you
guitar.
really
Yeah.
have to be you really have to be in a band
Human
like
metronome.
this
Yeah.
or anything that's experiment and when you do have that, it kind of exponentially increases the amount of, I wanna say, like, it's the amount of space or the amount of permission everybody else has
Mhm.
to go
You
out when you do have that drummer who
exactly.
is kind of the home base and, the thing to stand on, like, yeah, yeah.
You go out
I
on an
always
adventure. I'll be here when you get back. Yep.
Yeah, I always think of when I think of that, I always think of Interpol because, you know, everybody always focuses in on, at least, when Carlos was part of the band, Carlos Dengler's bass playing is very, very out there and experimental and good. And then the guitar playing in Interpol is it's very drony and it's very texture based, and there's not as much playing going on. But the whole reason either of those works or are allowed to exist in the mode that they exist in is because their drummer is like insanely good. And I don't know, maybe it's just the places I read, but I feel like he doesn't get as much of a shout out as those other two elements. But when I really sit down and listen to it, and I don't know, either possibly to my shame, but the one time that the time that I really noticed was they have a song, I want to say it's Obstacle 2, that's in the old Rock Band video game. And like when we used to play that, like me and my wife used to live with one of her cousins, and one of the things we would always do, like when we were home gaming all together, was we would play Rock Band, and I would always be put on drums. And like that was the time where I realized, like,
Those were so
wait a
fun.
I was like, wait a second, Interpol's drumming is really interesting and good. Like,
Yeah, they're almost backwards in the sense it's their bass and drums that are the lead on that, and
mhm.
the guitars and the vocals, like, just kind of keeping the
Yeah.
vibe, keeping the pace.
Yeah, exactly. They're very vibey. But yeah, the whole reason they're allowed to flip, and the whole reason Carlos is allowed to go off on the places he's allowed to go to, is because their drummer is holding it down.
Well,
Have we come to that
I think
time?
I think we've come to that time.
Amazing. So we're talking about spinning the wheel, correct? We're not both coming to a different time.
I'm not
But
sure, yeah, if it's that or having to throw our kids off a bridge, one or the other.
yeah,
Yeah.
get the bags and the bread ready. That's yeah. I was gonna say that's funny because I was just listening to a podcast about uh uh it's the Coen brothers Netflix, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Mm,
And yeah, Liam Neeson throws somebody off a bridge in that. So
nice.
we've come full circle. But before we do talk about spinning the wheel, let's do a review of what's actually upcoming, because um, if you haven't listened to the show in a while, we've decided to start kind of
Getting ahead.
we spin, yeah, we're getting ahead. So we know the next like 2 to 3 albums at least, and then when we
Yeah.
spin, we're just like putting something in the queue, and then we have a little bit of freedom, if we feel like it, or if we get like
Get
a
some
guest or
guests. Yeah.
something happen, we can kind of mix them up. But when we spin, we're kind of just throwing another thing into our into the chamber there.
Exactly.
But I believe
So
we
we
do
got
have, because of
Primal
an interview.
Scream,
Yeah.
Exterminator.
Mhm.
Then I think the progression would be to go to Pearl Jam's 10, because we do have
Yes.
an interview lined up for that, and then Massive Attack Mezzanine.
Yes, those are all the ones that we have in the queue, correct. So what's next week? Is next week Pearl Jam, or is next week going to be
Primal Scream, I think.
Primal Scream? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do Primal Scream next week. Pearl Jam will likely come after that. Then Massive Attack, and now we're going to spin to figure out what will take the final spot there. So I am.
Little spin music.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll. Oh, Jesus Christ! Hi, Dupe. Back again.
Back again.
Classic. Yeah, to think that Morrissey was having to put up with this while releasing Vauxhall and I. All right,
Yeah.
I've got 1 through 500 here, not 1 through 100. I'm hitting start, and I'm hitting stop. 247. I feel like that's pretty close to, this one was like 2, what was this, like 2 something?
240, 297.
297? Yeah, okay. So
it's 247.
247. Let's see once again if you can give me the description, and I'll see if I can get it. Give me the description without any identifying markers there. Making an interesting face.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So all right, let's hear it, and let's see if I can
Well,
get
the
it.
description's going to be easy, and the fact that we get to
really?
do this one's going to be awesome.
Okay.
Because it's something we had planned. Featuring crossover hits Firestarter and Smack My Bitch Up.
Oh,
Prodigy's
well,
third album with a commercial smash and their ticket to techno's top table.
okay. Well, that just makes sense. Okay.
The fat of the
Right on.
land.
All right. Well, good. We can at least say that we didn't cheat that one in.
Right?
Yeah, we've organically landed on Fat of the Land, and I think it's about time that we recontact Professor Rave and get the continuation of the Prodigy story
I think
after
so.
after
Yeah.
Music for the Jilted Generation. So, and yeah, actually, between Exterminator and Massive Attack and that, we're kind of going on a run of back into like UK,
90s UK
yeah, UK kind of
pop rock
90s
era. Yeah.
electro. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
right
That'll be
on.
fun.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
we'll have World Pearl Jam in between. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have our palette cleanser of local, good old local guitar rock.
Totally. Well, normally we kind of dissect what's around it, but admittedly, I have World War III going on with children downstairs, so probably going to have to wrap it up a
Well,
little
we
bit.
can
But
talk.
any
Yeah,
last
we can
words
talk about
before
it
we
later.
bounce? Or
I tell you, not really.
no, I think I would just give a shout out to
Yeah.
Jellybean Johnson, who passed away. He was the drummer for the Time, one of Prince's close
Oh,
musicians, and
I did not hear about that.
for the kind of an integral part of that whole scene. But nothing but good words to say about him from everybody that's been posting and sharing thoughts. And yeah, go out and listen to some Morrissey in the Time today, or a little bit more Prince. And here's some great musicians at work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Part of being our age is everybody you grew up with is exiting. So
Totally.
look forward to that, young people.
Yeah, yeah. Eventually, it happens to all of us.
Yeah. All right. Well,
on that somber note,
super positive note. Yes. All right. Good night, everybody.
good night.